But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
It is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
Sonny Houston's jaw drops when Joe Rogan delivers a truth bomb so vicious. And if that wasn't enough, Charlie Kirk goes all courtroom drama mode and sues The View for an astounding $100 million. What crazy craziness just broke out on live TV? Stay tuned to witness the epic clash that has everyone laughing and possibly reflecting on their life decisions at the same time. You won't want to miss it.
And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement?
When you think that daytime television has reached its most dramatic level with celebrity feuds and embarrassing political hot takes, someone sues The View for $100 million. And that's exactly what occurred. Political firebrand Charlie Kirk, who has been on everyone's radar for some time, wanted to put on the most outrageous legal battle in the history of morning talk shows. And spoiler alert, it became worse than a heated Thanksgiving feast.
Culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions. Whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right. And now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing. I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure it's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
Let's now simply acknowledge the scale at this point. For reference, I lost a few Twitter followers and lost $100 million. It would be better to start selling popcorn franchises. Instead, $100 million might finance an independent space expedition to Mars or purchase a small nation. Charlie Kirk determined that it was the ideal quantity to toss at The View, a daytime chat program renowned for its tumultuous blend of celebrity rumors, anarchic opinions, and occasionally political criticism that occasionally lands like a lead balloon.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
What in the world caused this lawsuit, then? We're not referring to a pointless Twitter argument or a misinterpreted joke, but rather careless comments on The View that reportedly went too far between a hot take and a legal nightmare. Everyone yells louder than they listen on daytime TV, which can occasionally feel like a high school lunch table. This time, the ranting allegedly escalated into a lawsuit-level issue.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sonny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever.
With a background steeped in law and justice, Sunny Host is no stranger to controversy and frequently serves as the panel's voice of authority. However, in this instance, her legal expertise did not prevent her from becoming the face of what critics refer to as reckless commentary, as if anyone was supposed to provide nuance and careful analysis. This is where it becomes wonderfully ironic. Sunny was the main suspect in the crime of careless conversation, and now she's in the crosshairs. Joe Rogan, the podcast king who thrives on wrestling with controversial topics, jumps into this mess like a bull in a china shop. Rogan's known for his brutally honest, no-filter style, a mix of humor, skepticism, and sometimes straight-up roasting. When he turned his spotlight on this lawsuit and Sunny Hostin's role in it, the internet collectively leaned in ready for the fireworks instead of a dry legal breakdown or a boring commentary. Rogan unleashed a championship wave of sarcastic takedowns and razor-pointed mocking. His assessment went beyond simply analyzing the lawsuit's merits. It was a comprehensive dismantling of the careless manner in which it seems like The View handled the circumstance. Imagine a masterclass in public roasting where every remark cuts through the typical daytime TV nonsense and lands right on the spot.
I have no hate for Joy Behar. If I saw her, I'd give her a hug. I'd probably say the same thing about me if I was her. You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is fucking great, and Joe Rogan believes in dragons!
Joe Rogan, the contrarian, always sided firmly with Charlie Kirk. This wasn't just a casual nod, it was an outright endorsement of the lawsuit's premise. He framed it as a necessary wake-up call for a media outlet that apparently treats serious allegations like a casual game of who can shout the loudest. If anyone needed a reality check, it was The View, and Sunny Hostin was the poster child for that recklessness. So how did Rogan achieve this humiliation without any in-person confrontation or on-air show? Let's first examine the structure of this public roasting, where a group of commentators are hurling explosive claims like confetti at a New Year's celebration. Rogan emphasized the lawsuit's enormous scope. Hundreds of millions of dollars isn't just a casual insult. It's a declaration that someone's livelihood and reputation are at stake, but The View's response seemed almost indifferent, as though they were accustomed to baseless accusations being made with no repercussions. Then came the irony. The View takes pride on providing a forum for thoughtful, serious debate. But in this case, they were allegedly carelessly making false accusations without sufficient support or careful thought. It's comparable to a doctor making a diagnosis based just on a patient's horoscope.
That show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. Mm-hmm. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman, and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Meghan McCain, and they did that with what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her? Jamie, she was always yelling. I mean, it's a bizarre show. I think the way before you start, I think the way you described it is brilliant, and the way we should all look at it. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're going to see race. The idea of being colorblind is ridiculous, but treat everybody. They're just human beings. Yeah. Everybody's just individuals.
That doesn't exactly give you confidence. Given her legal experience, Sunny Hostin was meant to be the guardian of rationality. But the lawsuit implies that even her remarks crossed a line into danger. The irony that the legal expert was suddenly at the center of a possible legal catastrophe was something that writers fantasize about but rarely receives this level of public attention. And Joe Ryan didn't hold back in bringing it out. Joe's humor was rife with sarcasm, ridiculing the show's reckless bravado and the discrepancy between their audacious claims and the truth. He vividly depicted The View as a legal minefield where any thoughtless utterance could lead to legal action. The show's unrestrained, or even careless, handling of controversy abruptly gave the impression that it was more of a litigation magnet than brave journalism. The lawsuit's potential to send shockwaves through daytime TV and cause the free-flowing style that makes The Viewpoint so popular to suddenly come under scrutiny is what makes this all the more intriguing. Imagine a world in which hosts reconsider booking celebrities because the legal bills start to mount more quickly than the celebrity guest bookings. Joe Rogan's analysis also suggests a broader media trend. Podcasts and independent platforms are increasingly taking the lead as the new arbiters of public opinion, frequently with greater reach and less filtration.
It's a very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
That's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones don't have to name any names. They're just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course.
You know,
they do everything with an agenda.
The old media guard may be losing ground, or at the very least facing significant difficulties when someone like Rogan publicly undermines the credibility of a major TV show and supports a lawsuit. The anatomy of Joe Rogan's humiliation of Sunny Hostin is a masterclass in transforming a legal drama into a laugh riot while exposing the gaps in the View's position like a wrecking ball through a paper-thin wall. To start, Rogan didn't just enter the lawsuit with the tact of a cat burglar. Instead, he stomped in wearing a T-Rex costume, swinging humor and logic like oversized wrecking balls. His main points were deliciously savage and precise. He focused on how The View, a show purportedly based on serious discussion, had apparently devolved into a careless rumor mill that was slinging out inflammatory claims about Charlie Kirk without any supporting evidence. It was like watching someone juggle flaming swords while wearing a blindfold. Sure, it looks impressive, but you're just waiting for the inevitable catastrophe. As a lawyer by training, Sunny Hostin should have known better than to make broad, damaging accusations on live television without supporting evidence. But apparently when the cameras rolled, logic took a coffee break. Roger then brought attention to this obvious irony, much like a stand-up comedian would when he exposes a politician who has been caught in a lie. But this time it wasn't just funny, it was dangerous from a legal standpoint.
I had to read the thing about The View because I just thought it was funny.
What's this?
The only reason I read that about me.
Dragon lover.
Joy Behar was trying to say that I believe in dragons.
Wait, what is this? I just
She
heard
said,
about
I checked it. And the lady goes, did you double check it? She goes, I checked it. He believes in dragons.
Should be like
You think they lived
Sasquatch,
alongside
bitch.
the people.
Wait,
It was from a wildlife biologist who came on my podcast. It was from Forrest Gallant. Gallant? How do I say his last name? Great guy. I love him.
Yeah.
He's awesome. But
Rocky
he
and
was
Jamie.
saying...
Then came the sarcasm, which was pure gold. Rogers depicted this foolish group of pundits who fling careless accusations like confetti at a New Year's party, which is amusing at first but eventually choking everyone and requiring someone to clean up the mess. This wasn't just comedy for laughs though. Rogers' approach had a strategic bite by emphasizing the ridiculousness and overreach of the lawsuit. And Sunny's commentary successfully changed the narrative so that the public began to wonder if Charlie Kirk was the victim of a careless media circus rather than the antagonist if The View had hoped to emerge looking like champions of justice and truth. They now appeared more like a lawsuit waiting to happen after Rogan's viral takedown. There was a noticeable change in public perception. How responsible are TV hosts when they make serious claims about public figures? Was the deeper question that Rogers shifted the focus from the lawsuit's eye-catching financial amount. Nobody missed the irony that a podcast host, who is frequently viewed as representing the Wild West of media, was criticizing a popular show for being careless.
This is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she
What?
by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest fucking statement. Like you didn't listen to what I said.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to what the wildlife biologist, and that's only a part of what he said.
I can't
the
believe
other
Joy
part of what he
Behar
said
didn't
was
wait.
there was something before that where he was explaining encounters with giant reptiles. And
I
then
don't
there's
know.
also, listen,
It doesn't make sense to me
There-
that a middle-aged woman could be dumb.
when you're worried about losing your job and
Yeah.
you're worried about podcasts taking over and who's the source of news.
Joe Rogan's vicious roast was more than simply amusement. It served as a wake-up call that reverberated well beyond the court case, which leads us to the potential ramifications for public debate and daytime TV if this lawsuit sends a message. Now that the stakes are higher and legal accountability is more than just a rumor circulating in the background, this carelessness in commenting is more than simply a slap on the wrist. Rather than just creating viral tweets, hosts who treat serious claims like game show cliches may soon find themselves writing millions of dollars in checks. This conflict can make daytime talk shows reevaluate their entire strategy. Imagine a world where hosts pause mid-rant to triple-check their facts, not because of editorial guidelines, but because their lawyers are breathing down their necks. The lawsuit could act as a regulatory hammer, changing how media outlets handle controversy, especially when politics and culture mix like petrol and matches. The days of hurling around hot takes with no fact-checking may be coming to an end. However, there's a bigger picture. The part played by Joe Rogan in this spectacle indicates a change in the mechanics of media power. When someone like Rogan takes a stand against a major TV show and publicly humiliates a well-known host, it's a seismic event that suggests that traditional media's monopoly on influence is breaking down, and that public opinion can now be shaped outside of the typical corporate echo chambers. Independent platforms, powered by millions of listeners and viewers, are no longer just sidelines. They're the main event.
Not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire. And when a show gets really, really popular, you know, like Letterman or something like that, obviously it has its own fan base.
Right.
Those people will try to get tickets before anybody else does. And in that case, they probably don't need to use a service anymore. They just get actual fans. But arguably, like, the fans, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
Right.
The real question is whether this lawsuit will backfire. Lawsuits of this size and scope are like high-stakes poker. Sometimes you bluff, sometimes you go all in, and sometimes you lose your shirt. If the View's team overplayed their hand, it might encourage others to file lawsuits against reckless commentary, which could suppress free speech. On the other hand, if Charlie Kirk's lawsuit fails, it might deter others from opposing media giants, allowing reckless talk to run amok without repercussions. In any case, the conflict between accountability and free speech is about to become much more fascinating. Legal professionals anticipate more filings and countersuits. Social media will be ablaze with more independent voices, and the aftermath could change how we watch and trust daytime TV. There may even be unexpected witnesses or records that could expose everything. One thing is certain, this isn't a case of a quiet settlement in the background. Rather, it's a sprawling, juicy battle with enough twists and turns to keep everyone interested. Will Joe Rogan continue to show off his media prowess and set the tone for a new kind of accountability? Or will this whole thing turn into an epic saga that permanently alters the rules of daytime talk? This legal media battle is far from done, and it may even alter how we watch the talk shows we like mocking. Naturally, neither Sunny Host nor The View have officially responded, but silence says louder than words. In the meantime, Charlie Kirk's lawsuit is subtly causing a stir. It's about accountability, not just money. If public figures and media organizations realize that their careless remarks could cost them tens of millions, they may start playing it smarter or simply become louder and messier, making every lawsuit the next big reality TV drama. What happens next? Will The View and similar shows be forced to reconsider their strategy? Will Joe Rogan's vicious takedown lead to a wave of similar commentary from other independent voices? Whatever the outcome, if you thought that daytime TV was just a place for courteous banter and celebrity gossip, think again. The stakes are now extremely high, the punches are landing hard, and the courtroom drama may be the most entertaining thing on air without a single live face-off in sight. Daytime talk shows have definitely become much more interesting because if Joe Ryan can humiliate an experienced legal commentator like Sunny Host while supporting a high-stakes lawsuit, the game has changed and it's only just getting started. Keep an eye out because this story isn't finished yet, and trust me, you want to be present for every savage moment.